Thank the chair, and I appreciate my friend from Pennsylvania offering the amendments that he has offered. I am offering here an amendment that I've offered to other appropriations bills affecting other agencies that would prohibit any of the funding in this bill, the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Bill, from being used to carry out President Biden's executive orders on climate change. We've had success in moving this amendment on previous appropriations bills because, frankly, it's fairly obvious to most people in the chamber, certainly to most Americans, that these executive orders are out of step and out of touch with where the American people are, and that they are pushing an agenda, a radical agenda that is completely devoid of recognition of what's happening in every American's life right now, that they can't afford to buy even the home they live in, much less the fuel they need for their cars, buy the car that they need, be able to afford to pursue any of the initiatives put forward in terms of solar panels and other things, because we're driving up the price of energy, making it impossible for people to live their lives because we're pursuing a radical agenda. By the way, that is making us completely dependent on China at a time when we should be decoupling from China, at a time that is making it to where we are not holding Iran accountable, and we're actually enriching Iran right now with our energy policies. We're not sanctioning Iran. We're allowing them to sell oil to China. And we're advancing this agenda because my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to put out this notion of climate change as being more important, as I've had members of the other side of the aisle testify in the Rules Committee, more important than the inflation that is wrecking the American family. Literally have said that. They're prioritizing this agenda over the American family today who cannot afford an automobile, cannot afford the gasoline to put in the automobile, cannot afford their energy prices in homes, electricity, and can't even afford the houses because of what this administration has done with their policies to drive up the price of energy with a radical agenda. In this case, Secretary Buttigieg is on a mission to overhaul the transportation sector, saying, quote, transportation ought to be responsible for the biggest share of the climate solution. DOT has established a climate change center with the goal of decarbonizing the transportation sector by 2050. In July of 22, the secretary said, quote, this is a quote, the more pain we are all experiencing from the high price of gas, the more benefit there is for those who can access electric vehicles. Right there is the agenda of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Right there is the agenda of the Biden administration. They want the American people to feel pain. Those are the words of the Secretary of Transportation. I reserve.
Dear friends, this is bad news. The Internal Revenue Service may experience major funding cuts if new legislation is signed into law. Republican lawmakers in the House of Representatives are urging that spending cuts be made to the agency, but Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is warning that this could affect the American people. My dear friends, please make sure that you watch until the end of this video to hear about all of the new details. Also, to say thank you for being part of this community. Every Friday, I will be announcing several winners for the Walmart gift card giveaway. If you would like to enter these weekly giveaway, friends, all you have to do is click and like several of my videos and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, friends, the greater your chances of winning these giveaways. Now, friends, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen defended the Internal Revenue Service in a speech today against repeated threats from Republican lawmakers to cut the agency's funding. Yellen said, playing politics with the Internal Revenue Service funding is unacceptable. Cutting it would be damaging and irresponsible. The IRS was allocated an influx of $80 billion by the Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act, which passed last year. The funds are intended to help crack down on tax cheats and improve taxpayer service. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office said last week that cutting $14.3 billion from the Internal Revenue Service would reduce the amount of tax revenue that the agency can collect by $26.8 billion over 10 years. The House GOP has made several efforts to claw back some IRS funds since taking control of the chamber in January. And some representatives have even called for abolishing the IRS altogether. Earlier this year, Republicans were successful in rescinding $20 billion from the IRS as part of a deal to address the debt ceiling. Many Republicans claim the IRS will use the money to hound middle-class taxpayers and small business owners, though the Biden administration has said that taxpayers earning less than $400,000 a year will not face an increases in taxes due. Internal Revenue Service Commissioner Danny Werfel said in a recent speech, following Janet Yellen's remarks, "Let me be as clear as possible. The IRS agenda in using the Inflation Reduction Act funds is as follows. If you are middle or low income, better service. If you are wealthy, more scrutiny." The Biden administration is eager to show how the new funding is helping the IRS improve its taxpayer services and ramp up enforcement efforts. During the 2023 filing season, the IRS was able to answer 3 million more calls and cut phone wait times to 3 minutes from 28 minutes compared with the year prior. This is after hiring 5,000 new customer service representatives. The IRS has already met its goals, set earlier this year, to make sure that taxpayers can respond to all IRS correspondence online. Previously, there were certain forms that could only be responded to on paper through the mail. And as a result of this change, the IRS says more than 94% of individual taxpayers will no longer have to send money to the agency. The IRS has also put a plan in motion to digitize all paper-filed tax returns by the year 2025. The move is expected to cut processing times in half and speed up refunds by 4 weeks. So there are more improvements that the IRS expects to roll out next year. For example, the existing online tool known as Where is My Refund will be able to give taxpayers more detailed information regarding the status of the refund after filing their federal tax return, including whether the IRS needs them to respond to a letter requesting additional information. The IRS is also expecting to provide more in-person tax filing support at its taxpayer assistance centers. Taxpayers can go to those sites to receive free help from trained volunteers. The tax agency's goal is to increase the number of taxpayers receiving free tax preparation help by approximately 50,000 in filing season 2024. So while these improvements are intended to give taxpayers fewer reasons to call the Internal Revenue Service, new technology is cutting down on wait times when they have to pick up the phone. A caller can hang up and receive a call back later. In addition, the Internal Revenue Service is currently working on building its own free tax filing program, known as Direct File. It will launch as a limited pilot program next year and be available to some taxpayers in 13 U.S. states. Well, my magnificent and most marvelous friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for today. Dear friends, thank you so much for being part of this community. To say thank you and to show my appreciation, every Friday I will be announcing several winners for the Walmart gift card giveaway. If you would like to enter the weekly giveaway, friends, please click and like several of my videos and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, friends, the greater your chances of winning these giveaways. Thank you, friends, and have a wonderful and very blessed week.